All right, welcome back. Last time, things got, well, pretty intense.
You could say that again. Dante and Virgil barely escaped the wrath of the Furies in that river of boiling blood.
Yeah, with Nessus the Centaur giving them a, shall we say, memorable ride across.
Definitely memorable.
So picking up in Canto 13, where we find our intrepid travelers. Well, Dante opens with these lines. Not yet had Nessus reached the other side, when we had put ourselves within a wood that was not marked by any path whatever. Doesn't sound like the welcome mat is out, huh?
Not exactly. It's like they traded one horrifying landscape for another.
Out of the frying pan and into, well, whatever this is.
This, my friend, is the wood of the suicides. It's as bad as it sounds. And we're still in the seventh circle of hell, remember. This is the second ring, reserved for those who were violent against themselves.
Makes sense if we're talking suicide. But this whole wood thing is a bit, I don't know, literal.
Well, Dante doesn't just tell us it's bad, he describes it. Gnarled branches, poisonous thorns. Like instead of fruit, you get this.
Talk about a toxic environment.
It's kind of a twisted take on reaping what you sow. The souls who took their own lives, they're transformed into trees, stuck in these stunted, twisted forms forever. A physical manifestation of, well, their self-destruction.
I mean, I get it symbolically. But being a tree for eternity, that's rough.
Dante wasn't known for pulling punches. Don't forget about the harpies.
Oh, right. Those lovely bird women from Greek mythology.
They make their nests in these trees, constantly tormenting the souls, feeding on their leaves, causing them pain.
Talk about adding insult to injury, literally.
But I think Dante's choice of harpies is more than just, to up the horror factor.
What do you mean?
Well, think about the harpies. Always hungry, connected to storms. They could represent that inner turmoil, the despair, the guilt that might drive someone to suicide in the first place.
Like those feelings just keep coming back to haunt you, even after death.
Exactly. It adds a whole psychological dimension to their suffering.
And then there's that whole detail about the trees bleeding and crying out when they're injured.
Yeah. It's like their self-inflicted violence is echoed in their punishment over and over again.
So not just being a tree, but constantly reliving the act.
And it sets the stage for our first encounter with a specific soul trapped here. Pier delle Vigne.
Oh, right, him. The guy who was a high-ranking official for Emperor Frederick II.
Falsely accused of treason, imprisoned, driven to take his own life.
And now he's a talking tree, telling Dante his story.
But it's interesting, right? Because Dante doesn't portray him as, completely monstrous. There's this element of tragedy, even sympathy, in how he's depicted.
So it's not just cut and dry, good versus evil, down here.
Not at all. Dante makes you question whether suicide is always unforgivable or if, in some cases, there might be some understanding.
Wow, that's heavy stuff. It's easy to forget, with all the fire and brimstone, that Dante's really exploring the nuances of human nature, not just, divine punishment.
Right. It's about the complexities of sin and how we judge it, both in ourselves and others.
So in this wood, in this circle, it's not just about suicide, is it? We also encounter those who were violent against themselves in a different way. The squanderers.
Oh, good catch. And remember back in Canto 12, right before we crossed the river?
Yeah, that whole horrible sand, scorched by fire.
Dante specifically mentioned that's where the squanderers would be punished.
And now we see why.
Instead of being rooted like the suicides, these guys are constantly on the move.
Fleeing from something.
They're being chased and torn apart by these ferocious black dogs.
So the suicides are trapped in stillness and silence, and the squanderers can't stop moving.
It's like Dante's contrasting these two forms of self-destruction, one through passivity, the other through this restless energy that's never satisfied.
Makes you think about the different ways we can destroy ourselves, even without meaning to.
And even in death, those actions have consequences. Remember that detail about Lano da Siena, one of the squanderers?
Refresh my memory.
So he gets chased by the hounds right into one of the suicide trees, and it causes the tree to bleed even more.
Like he's inflicting more pain, even unintentionally.
It's like this ripple effect, right? Even in this horrifying place, our actions can impact others in ways we might never imagine.
That's a lot to unpack.
And it ties into a bigger theme that Dante keeps coming back to. Sin isn't just personal, it has these wider social implications.
It's like a domino effect, but in hell.
Exactly. And as we go deeper, we'll see how that plays out even more.
Okay, but before we move on, let's talk more about these squanderers. What kind of reckless behavior landed them in this eternal chase scene? And who is this guy who burned down his own house just to impress his guests?
Ah, yes. That would be Jacopo de Santo Andrea. Let's delve into his story. This guy, Jacopo, he was a Paduan nobleman known for, well, his lavish spending. And not just spending, but destructive behavior. Some accounts say he set fire to his own cottages, just for the spectacle.
What was the point of that?
To flaunt his wealth, apparently. Like, look how much I can destroy. It's almost a parody of extravagance.
He's trying to burn through his inheritance as fast as possible. Makes you wonder what he was trying to compensate for, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely some psychology at play there. But he's just one of the squanderers Dante encounters, right? It's a whole parade of these guys, all caught in this cycle of reckless spending and self-destruction.
And Dante really lays it on thick with the descriptions.
He talks about another one who set fire to his own property just to watch the flames.
Like they get off on it somehow.
They find some perverse pleasure in watching things go up in smoke, right?
They're destroying themselves from the inside out. And it's so interesting how Dante contrasts their manic energy with the suicides, who are frozen, trapped.
Two sides of the same coin, maybe? One's all about action, the other inaction, but both leading to the same kind of spiritual ruin.
So two paths to the same destination, basically.
In a way, yeah. And then there's this little detail at the end of the canto that's kind of intriguing. As Dante and Virgil are moving through the wood, they encounter this figure who's complaining about being trampled by the fleeing squanderers.
Sounds painful.
Yeah, but get this. Some scholars think this figure might represent the city of Florence itself.
Hold on, the city. What does that even mean?
It could be Dante linking the destructive behavior of these individuals to the political climate of his time. Like Florence was going through some major turmoil back then.
So it's not just about personal sin, but about how that sin can impact the whole community.
Exactly. If the suicides represent a kind of inward self-destruction, and the squanderers this outward chaotic kind, maybe this trampled figure shows how it can spread. Like, that self-destruction can actually harm others, not just the person doing it. And it makes you think about how Dante's always blending the personal and the political. Like, sin and virtue aren't just these abstract concepts. They play out in the real world with real consequences.
So we've gone from this forest of sadness and regret to this frantic chase scene. And now we're talking about the fate of a whole city.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a wild ride for sure. What awaits Dante and Virgil down in these evil ditches? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Indeed. But one thing's for sure, it's not going to be pretty.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those circles of hell in mind. You never know when they might come in handy.